For decades, we were told these were just myths, stories for late-night television, tales whispered in the dark. They said it was fantasy, that it belonged only in Hollywood movies. But what if the truth had always been hiding in plain sight? Newspapers once screamed about strange objects in the sky. Eyewitnesses swore they saw discs moving faster than anything known to man. Governments laughed it off. Scientists dismissed it. But ordinary people knew something was out there. 1947, a small town in Roswell, New Mexico. A strange crash shakes the desert. At first, the Army admits, a flying disc was recovered. But within a single day, the story changes. Suddenly, it was only a weather balloon. And so, the greatest cover-up in modern history began. The Cold War was raging. Nations raced for nuclear dominance. And in the shadows, UFO sightings multiplied. Everywhere from rural farms to military bases. The U.S. launched secret projects, Blue Book, Grudge, Sign. Thousands of reports, carefully documented. But the conclusions, locked away, hidden from the public eye. Why hide the truth? Fear of mass panic? Or something far more dangerous? The possibility that alien technology could change the balance of world power. Witnesses spoke. Pilots, engineers, radar operators. But their careers were destroyed. Their voices silenced. The truth remained in the shadows. In 2007, the Pentagon secretly launched AATIP period, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. For a decade, investigators studied encounters between U.S. military and unknown craft. Luis Elizondo, the man who ran the program, revealed shocking truths. The government knows far more than it admits to the public. Let's listen to an interview with Luis Elizondo about one of his encounters with UFOs.
Study UAPs on a Defense Department-wide basis. So Lou, welcome.
Charlie, thank you so much.
We have a lot to talk about.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you folks for being with us here today. We're really looking forward to this.
So first things first, rationally, there are three options for what these aircraft are. They're either a US military black project, they belong to a foreign government like China or Russia, or they are of non-human origin. So talk us through why you think the final option is the most likely.
Sure. This was actually one of the fundamental questions we were trying to solve while in the Pentagon. The first obvious question is it one of our secret technologies? And the answer is quite succinctly no. And how do we know that? Well, for several reasons. First of all, I had access to all those programs. And those type of programs, you don't typically test these type of secret aircraft in and around areas where you're doing active maneuvers. You tend to test them at secret test ranges like Area 51. You certainly don't endanger pilots' lives by testing this type of secret technology without coordinating that through our joint staff. So we very quickly realized it wasn't our technology. The second option, as Charlie, you mentioned, is it foreign adversarial technology? Is it Russian? Is it Chinese? And of course, when you go through the historical documentation, certainly in our country, and this documentation is official documentation, one realizes very quickly we've been seeing this technology for decades. And when you compare that to where we were, let's say in the late 1940s and 50s, we were just exploring and learning the secrets of the atom. We were unlocking its secrets. We had just entered the jet age, and we hadn't even been into space. And yet these technologies were outperforming anything and everything that we have. So if this was some sort of foreign adversarial technology that's been around for 70 years, this would be considered probably the worst intelligence failure my country has ever experienced, perhaps even eclipsing that of 9/11 on an order of magnitude. So the last option is, well, if it's not our technology and it's not some sort of foreign adversarial technology, then then whose or what is it? And that's where we are now in the conversation, certainly with our lawmakers and our legislative branch and our executive branch. And so that's precisely what we're trying to figure out now is what exactly are these if they're not ours?
So what's the most persuasive documented UAP encounter that you can talk about?
Sure. First of all, it's a great question. It's also a loaded question because there's a lot I can't talk about, which to me is probably even more persuasive if you had a chance to see just some of this data. What I can't talk about is probably the most famous case that we had. It was in 2004. It involved the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group. This is a nuclear-powered, if you will, aircraft carrier, along with a fleet of other vessels, nuclear-powered, and in some cases submarines. And so they were doing what they call workups, or they were practicing before going out on a deployment. And they were out in 2004 in November, conducting operations off the coast of San Diego, California. And there you have one of the escort ships with the latest Spy-1 radar capability beginning to pick up some sort of weird anomaly. In fact, not only was it the USS Princeton at the time with this brand new radar system looking at this, which one could argue maybe was a radar glitch, but you also had an E-2 Hawkeye that was also in the air providing airborne radar. And both are now looking at some sort of object, we'll call it an object, coming in from 80,000 feet and within less than a second, now hovering 50 feet over the water. So certainly something very perplexing. So perplexing, in fact, that we decided to go ahead and launch 2 of our F-18 aircraft, Super Hornets. And so as you had Commander Dave Fravor and Commander Alex Dietrich, this is Commander Dave Fravor, by the way, a Top Gun graduate and instructor. These people are trained to identify and determine the difference between an Su-22, a MiG-25, and a F-16 from 20 miles away. And by the way, make a decision to shoot it down if necessary. So they get vectored to the area, and the first thing they notice is some water roiling on the ocean. And so Dave decides, being the kind of pilot that he is, he's going to go in and take a look at this. So he conducts a very, very evasive maneuver to get down and close to what he describes as this white, looks like a Tic Tac, literally like the breath mint. And it's about 40 feet long. There's no windows, no real wings or control surfaces, no obvious signs of propulsion. And yet this object is witnessed now by 4 separate individuals in 2 separate aircraft, bouncing back and forth almost like a ping pong ball right over the surface of the water. So as he goes down and to take a closer look at this, all of a sudden this thing begins to react to Commander Fravor's evasive maneuvers. And really, as Commander Fravor's coming in for a better look, this thing begins to maintain its distance and almost parlay, if you will, and keep a distance from this aircraft. So that tells us, first of all, it's intelligently controlled. And so as he decides this time, okay, I'm not getting anywhere here. I'm just going to go aggressively and go for this thing. Full throttle goes in, and if you will, for that quote-unquote kill to see what this thing is. And all of a sudden, like that, it's gone. It absolutely disappears over the horizon within about a second. Now, what's even more scary, which is in about 5 seconds afterwards, and we know this conclusively, we did the investigation, this object now is picked up once again on radar 60 miles away. And in fact, it is now at the rendezvous point waiting for them. And that rendezvous point, by the way, is a point that nobody knew other than the pilots where they were supposed to be. So somehow this not only anticipated their next move, but was able to get literally 60 miles. You can do the calculations if you want, how fast that is, in 5 seconds. So something certainly well beyond our capabilities even today. Hypersonic velocity, instantaneous acceleration, and whatnot.
When the program ended, Elizondo went public, and suddenly, the world could no longer ignore the evidence. By 2023, 2024, 2025, Congress began holding public hearings. For the first time, under oath, military pilots testified they encountered unidentified craft. Some even claimed wreckage had been recovered, metals, not of this earth, technologies, beyond human understanding. For the first time in history, these words were spoken, in the halls of Congress. If this is true, what else has been hidden? How far would a government go to protect secrets this powerful? And most importantly, why now? Why, after decades of silence, are we finally hearing the truth? This was Untold American Stories. Subscribe if you want to uncover more of America's hidden secrets, because the truth is always closer than we think.